Hello everyone. Welcome to another video here on our channel. Today, I'm going to talk about a fascinating and spine-chilling topic: emptiness in horror games. Get ready to dive into a dark journey through abandoned corridors and desolate spaces as we uncover how these games keep us trapped in a state of constant fear. Before we get started, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications of new videos about games and the geek universe. And don't forget to leave your comment below about what you think of emptiness in horror games, and share this video with your friends who also love a good dose of fear. Now, without further ado, let's embark on the scary adventure and uncover the secrets behind emptiness in horror games. Get ready to feel shivers down your spine. Have you ever played a game and felt the sensation of being alone? No background music, not much information on the screen. The feeling of being lost, just you, in an immense emptiness where you start to pay attention to everything, and every tiny sound is a warning of what is to come. And suddenly, this feeling is what scares you the most in games that use this resource. But why? Why is silence so frightening? Why is emptiness so empty? I'm going to divide this video into a few topics, and these topics will be: exploring emptiness. What is emptiness? How emptiness works, and then I'll talk about some games that use this resource, like my favorite, which is Resident Evil 7, and others like Outlast and Silent Hill 2. And finally, my conclusion. Music brings us emotion and provokes feelings. A movie or game, or any other audiovisual production worth its salt has a soundtrack. It almost seems like I'm contradicting myself by saying that good productions have a soundtrack, but it's exactly the opposite. Movies and games also use silence intentionally to bring the feeling of loneliness throughout the progression of the story. In recent years, horror games have stood out for their ability to tap into our deepest fears and keep us awake at night. But what makes these games so scary? One technique that developers use is emptiness, a powerful tool that creates an atmosphere of suspense and tension. Take, for example, games like Backrooms, which originated in 2019 and still generate a lot of curiosity and discomfort for those who watch. The resource they utilize includes monochromatic visuals and a vast room where you find yourself in a labyrinth, sinking deeper and deeper with no way out, walking and walking until. Let's delve into this darkness and discover how emptiness keeps us trapped in a state of constant fear. Within horror games, emptiness is not merely an absence of elements. It's a sinister presence that permeates every dark corner and desolate corridor of the worlds created by developers. It's a narrative and atmospheric technique that aims to immerse players in a state of loneliness, helplessness, and discomfort. When we face emptiness, it's as if we're confronting the very essence of terror, confronting our deepest and most ingrained fears. Imagine yourself wandering through an abandoned and gloomy environment, where the sounds of silence are only interrupted by the echo of your own footsteps. Every shadow seems to conceal an invisible threat, and darkness stretches out before you like an insurmountable abyss. This is the essence of emptiness in horror games. It's the sensation of being alone in a strange and hostile world, where dangers lurk around every corner, and the only certainty is the unknown. Desolate environments, dark corridors, and abandoned spaces are the tools that developers use to immerse us in this world of horror. Every detail is meticulously designed to make us feel small and vulnerable, as if we're at the mercy of forces beyond our comprehension. The sounds of the environment, or the lack thereof, serve to further increase the sense of isolation and helplessness, while glimpses of movement in the shadows feed our survival instincts. But emptiness in horror games is not just a sensory experience. It's also an emotional and psychological journey. By confronting this sense of desolation and despair, we're forced to face our own fears and weaknesses. Emptiness challenges us to explore the darkest corners of our own psyche, questioning our sanity and testing our emotional limits. Delving deeper into what emptiness means in horror games, it becomes evident that this technique is not limited to merely creating a dark and desolate atmosphere. In fact, emptiness is an active force that permeates all aspects of the game, playing a crucial role in the player's experience. Firstly, emptiness in horror games functions as a narrative tool employed by developers to tell deep and engaging stories. By placing us in desolate and isolated environments, emptiness becomes a visual and emotional reflection of the themes addressed in the game, such as loneliness, despair, and survival. These empty spaces are not just empty settings. They are characters in their own right, shaping the narrative and influencing the player's choices. Moreover, emptiness in horror games functions as a catalyst for the deepest fears of the human being. By creating an atmosphere of isolation and helplessness, developers instill a sense of vulnerability in the player, increasing the intensity of the experienced terror. Every strange sound and every sinister shadow become triggers for anxiety and fear, keeping players alert and tense throughout the gameplay. Another crucial aspect of how emptiness operates in horror games is through the manipulation of the player's senses. The clever use of sound effects, lighting, and sound design creates an immersive and eerie atmosphere that completely envelops players in the game world. Distorted sounds, unsettling soundtracks, and visually disturbing environments work together to create a sense of discomfort and oppression, making the player's experience even more distressing. Finally, emptiness in horror games functions as a tool to explore the player's psyche. By confronting disturbing situations and threatening characters, players are led to question their own perceptions and beliefs. The fear of the unknown forces them to reassess their priorities and make difficult decisions about how to proceed. This creates an exciting and unpredictable gameplay dynamic, where every choice can have dire consequences. As we delve deeper into what emptiness means in horror games, it's interesting to observe how this technique manifests in different titles, such as the iconic Silent Hill 2. In this game, emptiness is not just a dark and desolate backdrop, but rather a sinister presence that permeates every aspect of the player's experience. In Silent Hill 2, emptiness manifests vividly and disturbingly. While exploring the foggy and seemingly abandoned town of Silent Hill, players are immersed in a world of desolation and despair. The dark corridors, dilapidated buildings, and distorted sounds create an oppressive atmosphere that evokes a palpable sense of loneliness and discomfort. However, emptiness in Silent Hill 2 goes beyond the visual and atmospheric aspect. It becomes an essential element of the game's narrative, reflecting the deep themes explored throughout the story. The protagonist, James Sunderland, is confronted not only with supernatural horrors, but also with the demons of his own past and psyche. The emptiness he encounters in Silent Hill is a visual and emotional representation of his own inner journey, where he is forced to confront the sins and traumas that haunt him. Furthermore, Silent Hill 2 utilizes emptiness as a tool to explore the deepest fears of the human psyche. The monsters and horrifying creatures that inhabit Silent Hill are reflections of James's internal fears and anxieties, representing his own personal demons. The emptiness that permeates the game world serves to intensify these fears, creating an atmosphere of terror and suspense that keeps us on edge. Resident Evil 7, Biohazard. Emptiness is not merely a physical absence. It's an oppressive presence that permeates every aspect of the player's experience. The main setting of Resident Evil 7 is the sinister Baker family farmhouse, located in an isolated area in Louisiana. From the moment the player enters the property, they are enveloped in an atmosphere of desolation and despair. The dark corridors and dilapidated rooms of the mansion are inhabited by a palpable sense of abandonment and decay. The feeling of being alone in a hostile location is constant, fueling an unsettling fear of the unknown. In addition to the dark ambience, emptiness in Resident Evil 7 is deepened by the game's narrative. Players assume the role of Ethan Winters, who is searching for his missing wife, Mia, in the Baker mansion. As they explore the location, They are confronted not only with supernatural horrors, but also with the dark secrets plaguing the Baker family. The emptiness of the mansion reflects the tragedies and tortures that have occurred there, creating a sense of hopelessness and helplessness that permeates the entire gameplay. Another key aspect of how Emptiness functions in Resident Evil 7 is through the manipulation of the player's senses. The masterful use of sound effects, lighting, and sound design creates an immersive and terrifying atmosphere that keeps players on the edge of their seats. Every strange sound and every sinister shadow heighten the tension and anxiety, making players constantly feel threatened and in danger. In Outlast, Emptiness is not just a desolate backdrop, it's a tangible presence that envelops every aspect of the player's experience. Outlast transports players to the Mount Massive Asylum, an abandoned and sinister psychiatric hospital. Here, emptiness manifests itself eerily through dark corridors, dilapidated rooms, and a palpable atmosphere of despair. Every step taken by players echoes with the sound of loneliness and uncertainty, creating a sense of isolation that is both physical and psychological. However, emptiness in Outlast goes beyond the simple visual and atmospheric aspect. It becomes a central element of the game's narrative, fueling the suspense and tension that permeate every moment of gameplay. Players find themselves alone in a hostile environment, facing unknown threats and indescribable horrors as they attempt to uncover the dark secrets of the asylum. The game uses emptiness as a tool to explore the deepest fears of the human psyche. Confronted with the insanity and depravity that plague the asylum, players are forced to confront their own fears and anxieties. The sense of vulnerability is intensified by the fact that players are unarmed and unable to fight against the threats they encounter along the way, leaving them at the mercy of the unknown. Furthermore, Outlast uses emptiness as a way to challenge players' perceptions. The dark corridors and empty spaces create a sense of claustrophobia and paranoia, leading players to question what is real and what is just an illusion. The game plays with players' expectations, thrusting them into increasingly disturbing and unpredictable situations. Emptiness in horror games is a powerful technique that keeps us trapped in a constant state of fear. By creating an atmosphere of loneliness and helplessness, developers immerse us in a frightening experience that stays with us long after we've turned off the console. So, the next time you're playing a horror game, pay attention to the emptiness. It might be the scariest thing you'll encounter. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more videos about games, technology, and geek culture, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. Additionally, leave your comment below sharing your experiences and opinions about emptiness in horror games. Your feedback is very important. Thank you for watching, and until the next video.